The next step in the configuration process is to generate the supervisor configuration files for Nginx and Daphne, which is our ASGI server. The supervisor configuration file for Daphne also serves as the configuration for Daphne itself, which I'll demonstrate to you later. Let's use the Tethys gen command again to generate these files. First, the Nginx, and then for the ASGI service. Just as we did with the Nginx configuration, let's inspect these supervisor configurations to ensure that everything is correct. Let's start with the Nginx supervisor configuration. This file is fairly simple. We're simply telling it which command to run to start Nginx. But you'll want to note the log files. These can be really useful when you're debugging issues as you're getting the server up and running. That looks good, so I'll quit. Then let's open the ASGI or the Daphne file. And in particular here, we want to make sure that Tethys home is pointing to the correct location, which it is. We want to look at the directory of site packages, this variable here, to make sure it's pointing in our virtual environment for Tethys, which it seems to be. Then what we should do is look at the command. This is the call to Daphne, and basically any configuration for Daphne ends up being incorporated in this command. So that's why this file serves as the configuration for Daphne. So this is to activate our environment. This is the path to the command to run it. This is the number of processes that we'll be running and the files. What we want to do is make one modification here. Rather than have those run files be located in a subdirectory of run, let's get rid of the ASGI portion. So they will be generated directly in the run directory. Everything else looks good. Another thing you'll want to look at is the number of processes. Daphne can run multi-processed. The default is 4. I'll leave that like that for now. But that's something you may want to play around with to meet your needs. And then, as we did with the other file, you'll want to note the location of the log file. We'll need to go and set this up later on, so let's note this path. This file looks good though, so I'll go ahead and quit, and save changes. Now we need to link the files into Etsy so that Supervisor can pick up on the configurations. So first I'll do this for the Nginx file, and then I'll do it for the ASGI file. Let's go ahead and open those files using the Etsy path to verify that they're working. That link looks good. Let's test the other one. And that looks good. For CentOS, we need to make one modification to the primary configuration file for Supervisor, and that is just so that it will pick up on our files that end in .conf. So we'll just run the sed command to add this pattern to the end of that file. And now we need to set up the log file. So first, we'll make the directory. And remember, it was in var log Tethys. And then we'll touch a file in there so that the log file gets created. And finally, we'll change the ownership of that file to the Nginx user so that it has access to it. There's one last thing we need to do to finish up our supervisor configuration. We need to have supervisor reread and update the configuration files. So we'll call the reread command, and it notices that we have configurations for ASGI and Nginx available, and then we'll call update. And now these are added as process groups. And that finishes up our supervisor configuration.